Welcome. My name is Kara Manter from MCL Funding, and we're proud to be presenting a sponsor of SOAR. I have the pleasure of introducing Stephen David for today's session on iBuyers. Steve comes to us from Fort Lauderdale with a decade of recognition for being one of the top 1,000 brokerage firms in the nation. He has been a part of the GRI faculty for over 32 years, consistently soaring in the top 1% of the entire faculty. He has been a frequent speaker at NAR conventions as well as state realtor conventions. He serves as a Florida Realtor Chairman of Professional Development twice and a chairman of the first Florida Realtors Leadership Academy. He was State Educator of the Year in 1997 and again in 2017. Steve has written over 30 continuing education programs for Florida, Arizona, Minnesota, Tennessee, Kentucky, and others, and certification courses on the subjects of investment property analysis and property management. He started in real estate in 1974, becoming the top producing salesperson in Century 21, listing and selling over $100 million in his first 3 years. Today, that total exceeds $1 billion. The same year he started investing in real estate, and 46 years later, he has owned and managed 621 properties in Duval, Brevard, St. Lucie, Broward, and Monroe counties. Outside of real estate, Steve was an 11-time world champion in hydroplane racing and a 6-time national driving champion in unlimited hydroplane with 17 world speed records. Steve has also a commercial pilot certification. He and his wife divide their time between homes in Lighthouse Point, Florida, and Ocean Reef in Florida Keys. Please welcome Stephen David.
It's good to be with everybody. Thank you, SOAR, for inviting me to be with you, and particularly with all my friends from the west coast of Florida. We're going to talk about iBuyers, and you're going to probably leave with more questions than maybe you started with. And if you do, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to text me individually. You can reach me at 954-980-2643, and I'm happy to answer your questions. iBuyers is kind of like the hot thing right now, but it isn't really new. It's been around. It just had different names to it. If you think in the automotive industry of CarMax and Carvana, AutoBuy, Wheelsy, they're really kind of the same thing. I think you and I know that when we go to buy a new car, if we trade in our old car, we're not getting retail for it. We're going to get a wholesale value, and we do it either because we really want that new car or we just want to get rid of our old car. So that kind of philosophy started coming into real estate in more of a big institutional way, as opposed to just the one-on-one. And again, my phone number, Debbie, is 954-980-2643. And feel free to text me, and I'll be happy to help you out. So I got started in iBuying actually back, I guess, in the 70s. And all an instant buyer is you make the offer right now. So you go out for a listing and you would explain to an owner there's really two ways to sell property. We can retail it for you, and based on our competitive market analysis and MLS statistics, it may take this long, anywhere from, well, today's market, literally seconds, to 6-7 months. Some homeowners were like, I don't want to wait that long, or I've got another home I want to buy. And so what I started in 74 and really grew it in 76 was where I would start doing trade-ins. So I would go to builders and say, if you'll list your product with me, I'll provide your buyers that have a home to sell with the cash to buy your home. MAP Builders was one of my bigger clients back then, a gentleman by the name of Benny Martz, and he went and sold this company and did quite well. Because you had people coming into their models that had a home to sell with an equity they could buy the home. So I thought, I can buy the home at a good value, make a commission on the house I'm buying and the house I'm selling to the builder. And that worked real well. And then I grew it into this kind of institutional business. The difference between an iBuyer and a flipper is iBuyers work on a much smaller margin. than a flipper. Generally, a flipper is going to go in, maybe spend a bunch of money, usually kitchen, bathroom, flooring, what have you. Whereas an iBuyer is probably not going to do a lot to the home. We're going to go and clean it up, paint it, et cetera, and then put it back on the market. So what I wanted to know was, as I was growing this business, is, who are my big competitors, and what can an individual realtor do, maybe on a smaller basis? And the big one, the elephant in the room, of course, was Zillow. So each one of you, by the way, if you own a home or condominium, you could go right now on ZillowBuys.com and you could get a price in your home. The reason I went after them is because I think the public doesn't really know what Zillow is. In fact, I think most of the public think Zillow is a real estate brokerage. And in some areas of the country, it is becoming that. They don't understand that the Zestimate doesn't necessarily relate to real market value. However, the average consumer does. I'm going to venture a guess that many of you have gone on a listing and the seller has said to you, well, Zillow says my home is worth X. And it's not. But it's not an argument you're going to win because Zillow's bigger. You do any search on the web and Zillow and Truly is going to be number one or number two. So what I did was I took them up on the offer on one of my properties. It's a property in Margate, Florida. It's one of my rental properties, 6351 Southwest 1st Street. And I'm going to give you real addresses, real everything, so you know this is factual. And Zillow had said that the Zestimate of this property was $261,000 and some change. So I thought, let me take this through the process, although I'm not going to sell it to them. And so that's what we're going to cover. But let me tell you some of the other people that are out there doing this, though, that are far bigger than me. And these are institutions and now brokerage firms that are doing it as well. Of course, Zillow buys, and back in March, they kind of got out of the market. They're back in it now. OfferPad, one's now from Keller Buys, from Keller Williams. The group that owns Century 21 Coldwell Banker now has their own iBuy company as well. It's a small part of the market, give or take. It's less than 0.5%, but it will grow. And I think for you and me, what we want to know is how big can it grow? Can I capitalize on it? Can I compete with it? And how do I list and sell properties against it? So first off, it's relatively easy to compete with them, but you have to be in a competitive mode and you've got to be in front of that homeowner, whether it's over the web, the phone, or in person. I much prefer in person so that you can make your value proposition. At the end of the day, and I'm going to show you the hard numbers, we're worth a lot more than Zillow is. What we bring to the transaction as realtors is considerable value. And I'm going to show you those hard numbers so that you can see it. One of the challenges that some of these players are making is they were backed by hedge funds that look real good in New York and real good in three-piece suits, but they don't have squat about real estate. To the point, a company called iBuyers is one that's relatively big, but again, less than 5%. Another one of the big competitors out there, one that was called Open Door, did about $4.7 billion in transactions, but losing an average of some $20,000 per deal. Now, you can't keep losing money on every deal and stay in business unless you can, of course, raise public funds. For you and me as individuals, we certainly can't afford to take those kind of hits. So we can't make mistakes. And again, there's a number of others out there, but Zillow offers, Open Door. What they're saying is part of their big expenses, of course, are you and me. So some of them are going into a salaried mode where they'll actually be paying salaries to real estate agents to go out and try to list a property and maybe advance the equity to allow that buyer to buy another home and essentially do what I was talking about earlier, that you're getting really two commissions. You are buying the home, if you will, earning a commission then, and you're buying it at a less than retail price and helping them buy another home and earning a commission on that side as well. Now, for those of you that don't have the money to play in that game, what you need to know is, how do I list these things? How do I compete with the people that have the ability to write that check? And the answer is, you're going to deal with homeowners that do not want to wholesale their property. Okay? Particularly in the market that we're in. And you're over in Sarasota, Bradenton area. I'm predominantly in Southeast Florida. I'm coming to you today from my Fort Lauderdale office. Our average market time for well-pressed listings is literally measured in hours now and seconds in some cases. That's the mid-range market. We're going mid-range between 150 and say 450. Higher end stuff above 2 mil is taking a little bit longer to sell, but we've got strong markets throughout. So if you're a homeowner, the question is, why would you take wholesale when you can sell it pretty fast retail anyways? So you can still win at this, but you're not going to win sitting in your office. You're not going to win thinking about it. You've got to be out trying to get listings like you always did, and then have your value proposition ready. Okay, so let's take a look at what happened in the Zillow case. Let's first define what a Zestimate is, and I'm going to use Zillow's own definition for this. What Zillow says is that a Zestimate is a computer-generated valuation that uses basic facts. A computer-generated valuation that uses basic facts. And it's not really a competitive market analysis. And so you're a homeowner, you look at your Zestimate, you're thinking, I didn't think my home was worth that much. And chances are it's not, but you like what you see. It's kind of like when a car dealer says, I'm going to pay you more than retail for your trade-in. A person with common sense realizes I'm probably paying too much for the car that I'm going to buy because nobody gives this stuff away, right? Zillow then goes on to say, our team looks at comparable homes that are active or recently sold, as well as days on the market. So now they're starting to refine that definition as they're getting ready to make you an offer. Okay, so it's important that they don't actually do that in the Zestimate. They only do that when you're making an offer. So let's understand that then. The Zestimate is just a guesstimate, right? When they make an offer, that's a different story. And Tiffany, as to your questions, this is going to be recorded, so you can go back over it. And again, if you take notes and you have a question because I'm going too fast because we're doing this in a short period of time, feel free to text me.
Your phone number, please.
Sure, 954-980-2643. And I'm delighted to help any of you. You're not my competition. I think all of us will agree that our toughest competition is sitting in our own chair right now, because it's a matter of we're going to get off our butts and go do something. And if we are, we're going to do real, real well. So here's the test with Zillow. I said, okay, I'm interested in your deal. And so I emailed them and said, make me an offer, right? So, and this outline, by the way, is also available through SOAR. You can get the exact outline that I submitted to Florida Realtors. This is pending city approval. You will see the email communications back and forth with the Zillow rep. And let me add, the Zillow rep was professional throughout the deal. They were very straightforward in their offer. They're very straightforward in what their costs are. So I cannot say anything bad about them. It's a very professional operation if it is something that homeowners is interested in, okay? As you'll see in their emails. So Zillow does a couple of things. One, when they make you an offer, they charge what they call a conventional sales fee. A conventional sales fee. Now, you and I cannot use the word conventional, standard, average, but they do. And when they talk about the general sales fee or traditional fee, and that's what they're calling it, they're going to charge a seller 6% as a selling cost. And again, this is their wording. They call it, and I'm reading right from their offer, a traditional fee. A traditional fee. So they're charging the seller. So when they say that, sell your home, don't spend any money in repairs, closing costs, don't pay commissions, that's not quite straightforward. What they're saying is, we're going to give you a net amount so that you don't have to write checks for those. As opposed to, we're going to pay you retail and you don't have to pay anything. You are going to pay it, but it's going to be deducted from your proceeds. So then they talk about the closing costs. And you and I know there are closing costs to sell a home. Well, what do they charge? And I'm going to quote them. They said, 8 out of 10 sellers end up making at least one repair, improvement, or lower the price to complete a traditional home sale. And that's probably pretty close. I mean, you and I have done a lot of business, and usually there's some concession made, whether it's a matter of painting something, repairing an air conditioner, fixing a roof leak, the repairs are made. But listen to the extent they talk about. This is a $261,000 property. They're saying, their words, Zillow estimates such cost of between $9,800 to $17,200 on average. So I'd ask those of you that are with us this afternoon, does every deal involve repairs of $9,800 to $17,200? I have not seen that very often. Nonetheless, that's going to be deducted from the proceeds when you finally get to the dollar that they're going to offer you. So here's the facts. This is a real home, 6351 Southwest First Street in Margate. I've owned it a long time as a rental. The estimate was $260,071. So picture yourself as a regular homeowner, and you look at his estimate on the web of $260,071. How many of us believe that the homeowner thinks their home is actually worth $260,000 plus? And I would venture guess the vast majority think that that's what their home is worth. And that's what they want to list it for, because that's what Zillow said. And again, they don't really know what Zillow is. Okay. This is a 4-2 home. It's on a canal, recently painted, in good shape. If I did sell it, I doubt if I'd have $1,000 in repair costs. Nonetheless, they said that's what I'd say. It's also rented. So what value did they come up with? You're going to see it later. The Zestimate was $260,071, right? The initial Zillow offer was $226,000. So let's look at that difference right now. The Zestimate, $260,000. The Zillow offer of $226,000. So already we're like $34,000 off from they said it's worth. And we haven't even taken into account the cost of sale to Zillow. So right away, you got to think, well, gosh, as a broker, I don't think, if I'm taking a listing and it's this price, are they going to have to discount $34,000 to sell it? I don't think so. That's where they're at. So that's about a $34,000 discount. Then we get into all the other costs. They're going to charge a 6% traditional commission. Again, you and I cannot use the word traditional. Sherman Antitrust Act violation. But they say it's going to be 6%, so that's $13,590. So now we're down to $226,500. Remember again, the Zestimate was over $260,000, right? And so now we're down to what? A net of $212,910. So now we're almost $50,000 away from what they said the home was worth. Then they have a service charge of 1%. So 1% of that $226,000, that's another $2,200. They are discounting my price. So now we're down to $210,000. So I've just lost $50,000 between my Zestimate and the Zillow number. But they're not done yet. They're not done with these costs yet. And follow along if you're a homeowner. If I was sitting in front of you as a homeowner, and we originally started at $260,000, and now we're down at $210,000, and I'm not done charging you costs, I got a feeling you're not going to be real happy unless you're desperate. Right? And really, as agents, I think our job is not to take advantage of desperate people, it's to help them. And if you are that motivated to sell, we probably only need to reduce it just a little to sell that home relatively quick. Do we need to take this kind of a huge hit? I don't think so, particularly in this market. But let's go on. They said that closing cost estimates are $3,461. That is their number. So I've got, but remember the ads always say, sell your home, no closing cost, no commission. Well, here's a closing cost of $3,461. So now I'm down to a $207 net. For those of you relatively experienced in the business, you do a net sheet and you start at $260 and now you're down at $207 and there's no mortgage. It's starting to look like something's wrong here, right? Let's go a little further. We're down to 79% of value. Now we're down to those repairs. And Zillow estimated between $9,800 and $17,200. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to split that in half. Okay. So now we're going to take $13,500 off of what I was going to get for the repairs that they estimated. And this is all in their email. You're going to see it. So where am I at now? I'm down now to about $193,000. $193,000. Remember when we started, that Zestimate was $260,000, and now maybe I would walk away with $193,000. So let me ask you this in Sarasota, Bradenton, and your markets. If you list something at $260 and they're going to walk away with $193,000, Don't you think you could do better for that? Don't you think you could get them more money than that? Or is this something you'd want to take advantage of? Now, I'll tell you, in our practice, when we go to list a home, or if a seller says, hey, I understand you're one of these instant buyers, what will you pay me? The first thing we do is arrive at what retail market value is. And we explain to them, we believe this is the value that we could get you given a reasonable period of time on the market with reasonable exposure, where you are a willing seller and the buyer is a willing buyer, and neither one of you are under undue pressure, which is kind of the definition of market value, isn't it? So first we want to tell them that. This is, if you have some patience and if you can carry the property, this is what we'll pay. This is what we can get for you. Alternatively, if you want to be out of this thing in 3 to 4 weeks or less, I'll pay you cash, and here's the number I'm going to pay you. So now you can see, though, that's a huge spread. But what it does, it lets the seller know, if I need to sell, I know I've got them ready to buy, and he'll write me a check. If I have a little bit of time to wait, I can get retail. So we're not taking advantage of people. It is their option. Sell it retail or sell it wholesale immediately. As a market is strong like we're in right now, the iBuyer is less of a competitor. When our market slows down, I didn't say if, I said when, I think they're going to be a larger share of the market. Now the question is when. I got started in 1974, and many of you weren't born then. But we had a recession then because in Florida, the usury law for residential mortgages was 10%. And that's back when interest rates went clear up to 18+%. Bank CDs were paying north of 10%. Inflation was 14%. And we always say history will repeat itself. So, what does that mean? Well, right now, permanent mortgage rates, 30 years, are down around 3%. So think about this mathematically. A $100,000 home at an 18% mortgage is a $600,000 home at a 3% mortgage. So while our values have significantly gone up in Florida on an interest rate adjusted basis, they haven't really gone up phenomenally. It's been about a 3% annual compound growth rate. But on the surface, it looks like, I remember when I could have bought this for 100. Yeah, and you would have paid 18% interest rates, today 3% interest rates. So I would say right now the iBuyer is less of a threat. In fact, for those of you that own investment property, like me, you're getting postcards and you're getting phone calls, and you're probably getting the same phone call I am, which begins with, this call is probably out of the blue, or you didn't expect this call, or we just bought a property in the neighborhood. Reality is probably they don't even know your neighborhood, where they're pulling this data from as public records, where the tax bill is sent somewhere else. These are people that we might call wholesalers. They're trying to buy your property relatively cheap, maybe put in a little bit of money, and then maybe spin it off even to another wholesaler who will then try to retail it. Now that's because they perceive that right now the market is hot, and if they can buy cheap, sell high, they will. But as a realtor with a large brokerage firm, I'm more concerned about how do I maximize my seller's value? Unless the seller says, Steve, I don't care about maximum value. I just want out. Just give me a check and I'm out of here. In which case, I want to be that option for them. Again, for those of you with limited resources, and you're thinking, man, how do I compete with somebody that can write a check anytime they want? There are a lot of people like me that are known as equity lenders as well. And you've got a ton of them there. And what's an equity lender? We used to be known as hard money lenders. Before that, we were called loan sharks. And generally, that's going to be 70 to 80% loan to value, going to be anywhere from 7 to 10% interest rate, and it's usually a 1-year interest only mortgage. So it's a chance for you to get in with very little cash, do whatever rehab you're going to do, and then sell the property. It cannot be a principal residence. It has to be investment real estate. You have to do it as an LLC with a personal guarantee. And the reason we're doing that is most of us as equity lenders are not regulated lenders, so we've got to make sure we don't violate any federal lending laws. But there are a lot of us out there. In fact, in the history of the world, there has never been as much idle cash sitting on the sidelines as there is today. And frankly, it's because people are scared. You think about it, the vast majority of the wealth in the United States right now is sitting in money markets and CDs paying less than 1% interest. Inflation is over 1%. By parking your cash in a money market, you're literally losing purchasing power every year. That's one of the reasons that real estate is so hot. Okay? About 50% of America owns stock, but of that 50%, the vast majority own that through mutual funds. They're not making their own individual investment decisions. Again, that's why real estate's strong. Now, those of you with a commercial background know that current cap rates are very low, 4 to 5%, if that. And those of you that are working with, quote, investors that say, hey, find me a good deal with 10% returns. One, I would say, good luck. And if you can find a 10% return deal, buy it. If you can borrow money at 7% and you can make 10 on a net cash flow basis, you're ahead of the ballgame. That's, again, why people are buying real estate. If I can only get 1% of my money, why wouldn't I own real estate? And let me answer my own question. A lot of people don't want to deal with tenants. A lot of people don't worry about hurricanes. A lot of people don't worry about things breaking. Completely understand that. And some of them you will never convince to own real estate. Don't waste your time. Deal with the people that want to buy. I don't mind the headaches. And actually, I like tenants. I know that's weird to say. I like them because who else will pay for your property for you? I did my first deal when I was 18. It was 1030 Northwest 4th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. Bought an FHA, moved in for 6 months. My commission was the down payment. Rented it as soon as I could get out of that FHA hold period, which was then a year. It carried itself, it paid itself off. And I didn't make the payments, my tenants did. My tenants are the ones that have created my wealth over the years, such as it is. So I like tenants, I can deal with those kind of problems. How many of you have worked with a buyer that you spent a lot of time with and didn't buy? So you're willing to work for free. I'm willing to work with a tenant that's a little bit of a pain in the butt because they're paying me for that privilege. Just a thought. The reason I became an iBuyer. I thought if I can own the wealth, I'll never again have to work with people unless I choose to. And the nice thing about when you start having your own wealth, you'll choose to work with the people you want to work with, not the ones that you have to work with. And what I've found is when I can choose the people I want to work with, it is a delight. I get to work with really cool people that I enjoy, that I can have dinner with, that I have ultimate respect for, because I don't have to do it. I choose to do it. And you can get there too. It starts with buying some real estate. So let's get back to this estimate thing, right? So I went from $260,000 to $193,000, right, was the estimate. So that's about a 25% drop in market value. What does that mean on a nationwide basis for real estate? If all real estate in the US were to sell at once at a 25% drop, the net loss of equity would be $7.95 trillion. If everyone wholesaled and didn't use a realtor, didn't use one of us to maximize their value, it'd be almost $8 trillion that vaporized. $8 trillion. Now, where do I get those numbers from? It's US gross domestic product, and it was from Forbes, January 2018, the value of all US homes, which was $31.8 trillion. So if these iBuyers were to get real big, we're talking about a significant loss of equity for homeowners. And I think that's what you and I protect as realtors. We're protecting at least $7.95 trillion if people will use us to get maximum value. Okay? So that offer wasn't real good to me, and I actually turned them down. And then I thought, okay, if I'm a regular homeowner and I turned it down because I didn't want to lose 25% in value, let me see what would happen in MLS. Let me see comparable deals. So I went to MLS, real MLS numbers, and I looked at a property around the corner from mine, and it's 6909 Northwest 5th Place. It was listed for $339,700, and it sold for $336,000. Okay, 1% discounted value. It was on the market for 5 days, and it closed November of 2019. So here's a very comparable property listed at $339,000, which is fairly close to the Zillow value, by the way, and sold for $336,000 at a 1% discount plus closing cost and commissions. So I could take a 25% hit and sell it to an iBuyer, or I could list with a broker and I could get significantly greater sum of money. In fact, if I use the exact same metrics, that Zillow used on this sale, okay, I would have charged the same commission they would have, the same closing cost, the same repairs, and I was just fairly allocate everything that they do. And as an agent, I still would have gotten that seller significantly more money than had they taken the Zillow buy, even using all of the Zillow closing cost and any other iBuyer closing cost. So in this particular deal, the difference was about $50,000 more because they used a realtor. Okay? But I thought, well, I can't just use one, right? You can't use one because those can skew any way they want. So I looked at it a little bit further in the neighborhood and found another comparable. Okay? And this one was at 6111 Northwest 20th Court. All these are within about 8 blocks of my subject property at 6351 Southwest 1st Street. And in this particular one, they're asking $240. It sold for $235,000. So it was a 2% drop in value, and it was on the market for 60 days. So again, listed at $240, sold for $235 in 60 days through a realtor. Not a 25% drop in value, a 2% drop in value. Now, let's apply again the Zestimate. Let's apply the Zillow cost. Let's apply what every other iBuyer probably would have applied to this. We're going to take off the commission, and we're going to take off the repair cost, etc. And the non-Zillow offer net to that seller would have been $200,000 and some change. Had it been a Zillow or an iBuyer offer, it would have been $170,000. So again, applying the same cost than iBuyer would, as opposed to using a retailer to get full value for your property, we'd have gotten them $30,000 more money. So for those wondering, how do I compete with an iBuyer? What it gets down to is, I can get you as your realtor significantly more money than the iBuyer can get you. If you really need to move this property and you need to be out here in a week, then I can certainly buy it as an iBuyer would buy it, but it wouldn't get you full value. What I ask the sellers is, which is more important to you, getting a quick check or getting full value? And if they say full value, then I'm going to list it and do my best to get them full value. If they say, I just want a quick check, what I do is say, go out to 3 iBuyers, including me, get your best price. And whatever price they get you, I will likely give you more. And many times I go, well, why would you do that? And I explain to them that when you sell to an iBuyer, you're going to be discounting your price. And the question is, how much of a discount are you willing to accept? And if you have 2 legitimate offers from the big institutional iBuyers, I believe I can beat them because I know the market and I've already told you what your home is worth. And I then go on to say, but I don't want to do that because to me, it's taking advantage of your situation. I can retail it pretty quick for you and get you more money. But just like wholesaling a car, if you want it done right now, you're probably going to do it, right? So let's take a look at the email communications that went back and forth on this thing, okay? And by the way, in the outline you'll see, and I'll show you, these are the real MLS listings that I used. I mean, I wanted to make sure that this was an absolute comparison to reality, so that when I use this listing presentation and my salespeople use this listing presentation, we've got real world data that is not hyperbole, but it's provable. Because the same thing I'm talking to you about, we train our salespeople to do when they go out on listing presentations. But obviously, it's not in 1 hour. We do it for hours on end, and we do it multiple times. So that's a real MLS listing. That's another real MLS listing. So let's take a look at the actual communications then with Zillow, okay? And for those of you that have the outline, you'll see it. For those who don't have the outline, you can download it because SOAR has made it available to you and I provided it to them. You can actually see everything. The first one is a February 11th letter from the Zillow rep in Miami, who is a very nice person, a very professional person, knows his business very well. It says, below you'll find a link to our initial offer. Initial offer. These numbers are determined by our pricing and underwriting teams, as well as a local real estate brokerage in your area. So many of these iBuyers are using local brokers, and they will negotiate rates with them that apparently work for the agent and obviously work for the iBuyer. Some of you may think, hey, how can I get into that? Well, contact them. Just contact the big iBuyers that are out there and ask them, are you engaging agents in your area? A lot of them are going to a non-commissioned salaried basis, or they're going into a what we'll call a specialized commission basis. But you can certainly give them a call and see if they're looking for people in your market. I have no interest in working with them. I prefer to compete with them because it's more fun. Letter goes on to say, at the top is the market value. And they define that as the probable price for your home. You'll also see your estimated cash proceeds. Zillow pays you the market value less what we call the Zillow convenience fee. Now listen to that wording again. Zillow pays you the market value less what we call the Zillow convenience fee. So they're being straightforward. And that's the thing about they're legitimate competitors because they're honest and they're straightforward on what they're doing. It's kind of like if you're going to CarMax, you know they're not giving you retail. They're going to sit down with you and they will say, based on your car's condition, mileage, etc., we will give you a check for X. If you like it, fine. If not, let's shake hands and be friends. And I respect that from this quality of the competitor. It says the fees designed to take the place of all the fees you would incur had you listed traditionally included but not limited to a real estate commission. Where I find this letter helpful is when you're dealing with sellers, particularly FSBOs, who don't want to pay a commission. They say, I don't want to pay a commission. In which case you could say, have you ever heard of Zillow? And they go, well, of course I've heard of Zillow. Well, you know what's interesting? Zillow talks about commissions all the time. In fact, here, in this letter right here, they say, not limited to a real estate commission. So the biggest people in the market are saying they charge real estate commissions. So if the biggest people are charging that, there's no reason that you and I shouldn't be able to reach agreement on real estate commission either. Okay? So you shouldn't lose that argument anymore. Okay? It says the fee covers everything it will cost Zillow to acquire and hold your home. And hold your home. With the fee, you're purchasing the freedom to sell us your home in its current condition and on the day of your closing with no out-of-pocket cost whatsoever. Listen to that sentence. On the day of your choosing with no out-of-pocket cost whatsoever. Well, there were costs, weren't there? But they were deducted from the proceeds. So from a seller's perspective, let's say they're not real knowledgeable, they're going to tell you, well, this other company will buy my home and it's not going to cost me anything. It is going to cost you something. It's all going to be netted off from them. So what I'm recommending to you is let's use our competitors' own paperwork to win this battle. Let's show what they're doing. I'm never afraid of good competition because I'm always of the belief I can beat the best. I've just got to think smarter. And I know you can do that as well. Okay? They go on to say the next step is to schedule your free, no obligation home evaluation. So now they actually want to see this thing, right? Right now it's all just been kind of an offer based on, photos and verbal or what have you. As you review the link, the button that says compare to listing with an agent. And what they're doing in this link is they're actually, and again, you're going to see it when you get the outline, they're going to show you what would happen if you sold it with an agent and what would happen if you show with them. And this is that great argument for you when it comes to commission, because they are showing a commission on their side and they're also showing a commission on your side. So there's no argument but that there's going to be a commission paid. So in this particular case, it says get a Zillow offer on the web. And it says it's off market. The Zestimate is 260,071. So I send them an email saying, yeah, I'm interested. Send me an offer. Their ad, by the way, right here, and you're going to see it, says no staging, no showing, no repairs, move when you're ready, and then their cash offer. So let me ask you as a homeowner. It sounds nice, right, to say no staging, no showings, no replies, move when you're ready. That sounds good. But there's a cost to it. So the question to you as a seller is, are you willing to allow me some staging, some showings, and give me a little bit of time, and I will make you probably 25% more than you would get with an iBuyer? Or would you be willing to take that 25% discount and avoid all of that? So now what happens when you go into that listing presentation, you're giving the consumer a choice. It is not take or leave my conventional listing. It is which of my choices do you prefer? selling to me at an iBuyer value, or allowing me to get full value for your home. Which do you prefer? So now the consumer has a choice. Because in the conventional world, when you were just going out for a listing, it was either get it or not get it because you weren't offering an option. Now we're talking about offering an option. Okay. So next page, and again, you're going to see all these things, is they're saying the market value is ready. Your market value is ready. So they now determine what they're willing to pay me. Question, I thought this estimate was my market value. No. Now they're telling me my market value is ready. So remember, it was 260 on this estimate. Market value, $226,000. But wait a second, this estimate was $260,000. And now you're saying my market value is $226,550. So which is it? Is this estimate legit, or is the market value legit? So for you and I, there are agents out there in the street, can't we use this to beat them at their own game? The next time the seller tells you, well, this estimate or whomever is saying my home is worth X, show them this and say, that's what they may have said, but that isn't what they're really doing. Right? Show them the facts. And then it says, preview the selling cost and fees. So now we're getting down to the net sheet part, right? So market value was $226,550. Selling cost. This covers the transaction cost of buying your home, the prep cost of listing and selling your home after you move out, and this includes 3% for the future buyer's agent. So the neat thing about what they put in writing here is that it helps you support your argument about what you're worth, because they're actually quoting fees here. So they're going to charge that, and this is on their letter. They're going to, it says in a traditional sale, this is them. In a traditional sale, the agent gets 6% on average. That's Zillow, that's not me. That's right here in the offer, right? So they're going to subtract that 6%. So they're saying we got to pay a commission. We have to pay a holding cost for your home. Then the service charge. You're charging a 1% service charge, and that's to carry the property. Then the closing cost, and they're estimating $3,461. And then the repair cost. Most homes need a few repairs, that same thing. They're saying, in fact, 8 out of 10 sellers end up making at least one repair or lower the price of an additional home. Repair cost can vary between $9,800 and $17,200. However, in their net sheet, it says pending. They don't put the real number. When you and I are with sellers, they don't really like to see the word pending, do they? They say, hey, what's it going to cost me to sell my home? Right? So this helps you get down to that net dollar amount. And it also, I think, helps us come across as absolutely straightforward, black and white. We're in the business of either maximizing your value or helping you get out with the most money possible where it still makes sense for me as an investor to make some money. It allows us to be absolutely honest in that transaction. Okay. The neat thing about this stuff is you're not taking advantage of people. If they choose to sell at wholesale, you're there to buy it, but you're also there to list it at full market value and get them top dollar. It is their choice. Picture again, you walking into a brand new auto dealer. You have a choice. Don't trade in your car, negotiate your best price on the new car that you want, and you'll probably save some money. Or trade in your car to get rid of it quickly. They're going to give you what you know is not retail, and maybe you can negotiate a little bit on the new purchase. And if you think about it, in real estate, we've got, give or take, 5 million transactions per year nationwide. In the automobile industry, I believe it is over 50 million between new, used, et cetera, leases, et cetera. So people are basically doing 10 times as many auto transactions as real estate transactions. So they're already used to understanding the difference between retail, wholesale, getting what I want right now, as opposed to waiting for what I want. So I don't see really a big difference. I think mentally, the consumer is already there. It's just in real estate, we never really considered the fact that sellers would be willing to do the same thing they would for automobiles. So when you treat real estate as a chattel, as a thing, then maybe wholesale is more of a natural for them. On the other hand, if we look at this as the biggest single investment of my life and I need to maximize what I can, that's where you come into the picture as a professional real estate person. So we continue to go on, and it says, to start, our team looks at your Zestimate, a computer-generated valuation that uses basic facts. So when we're talking about a legitimate CMA as opposed to a Zestimate, when you're explaining a CMA to someone, a competitive market analysis, you're explaining to them, I'm assuming, of course, that you've done your homework. You looked at the sales, you've made sure that they're comparable, that bedrooms, baths, square footage, deep water, no fixed bridges, bay view, canal, roads, schools. We've looked at everything to come up with what we believe are at least 3 comparables to help establish market value. In the case of the Zestimate, they call it a computer-generated valuation that uses basic facts. So I love showing them that. I said, they're right here, they're telling you what they've done to get this estimate. Now, on my CMA, let me tell you what I did to arrive at your value. Show them your value. You are worth it, but we've got to explain it to them, okay? Now, Brian asked, are they offering 207 or are they offering 201, 161? And the answer to that, Brian, is they're offering 200, 161. And you're going to see how we get there, okay? Then they're going to review the home details you provided. Then they're going to look at comparable homes and listen to this language. Lastly, they'll look at comparable homes that are active or recently sold, as well as days on the market in your neighborhood. Lastly, I'll read that one more time because I love this part. Lastly, they'll look at comparable homes that are active or recently sold. When you and I are doing a CMA, we're not doing that lastly. I'm using words that aren't proper here. We do it firstly. We want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges. Is your home on deep water? These are 6 feet of water at low tide. Can I get my sports fish back there? Is there a swimming pool? Is there not a swimming pool? Am I in a locked-in area where I can't actually get out to the ocean? Am I on a busy street? Do I have an ocean view or do I have a city view? You and I are doing legitimate CMAs. We're not doing it lastly. We're doing it firstly. And I think this will help you in their argument. And Brian, as to your question, they go into repairs. They also added, by the way, cleaning and landscaping for $500. Then the home ownership cost, if you were having to carry this home yourself, they said it's going to cost you $6,570, right? Then the transaction costs, and this is comparing a broker to a Zillow one, and we get down to that net proceeds, okay? So question, if I'm a seller, yes, it cost me money to carry my home. If you don't have a mortgage, you're still going to have lawn, HOA, electricity, air conditioning, et cetera. And I should figure what that is on a per month basis, right? Because you and I already use this when we're submitting offers. Zillow essentially is saying, you're going to have those costs no matter what, or we're going to buy it from you. And as Brian, let me correct myself. They're saying 207 is their number as opposed to 201. But remember, they did not deduct the repair cost. Remember, they left that word pending. Okay, so they're saying if you sell with a conventional agent, you're going to actually net less than if you sold to us. And I would challenge them and say that's not necessarily the case. The real case is those 3 MLS comparables that we looked at that sold within a reasonable period of time, in one case a couple of days, in one case 60 days, and netted the sellers significantly more money than they would have gotten had they wholesaled the property. Okay, so when you see this outline in person, I think it will help you maybe create your own forms for showing what an iBuyer, regardless of who that iBuyer is, versus what you can do for them, the cost that they estimate versus the cost that you estimate, and then essentially present 2 opportunities to a homeowner. One opportunity is, I believe I can get you full maximum value, and I believe based on market conditions, I can do it within X number of days, weeks, or months, whatever the truth is. Or I can buy it from you, okay, as an iBuyer, I will make you an instant offer. I will pay you cash, and we will close whenever you like. And this is the number. So it's really two different presentations. This number or this number, whichever one you want, I'm ready to go to bat for you. Now, let's contrast this to, say, a flipper, right? And you and I hear these people all the time. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just somebody, right, who is trying to buy low and sell high. Okay? As a realtor now for 46 years, and all that I have has come from real estate. This has been my entire life, has been real estate. I believe my value to sellers has been maximizing the value I bring to the transaction, and to the buyers that I've worked with is maximizing their experience in getting the home they want with the least trouble and inconvenience and the best terms that they can get. The seller getting what they want, the buyer getting what they want, and our commission is a byproduct of that. It's not one or the other. It's reaching that happy medium for both of them. Okay? The only reason I got into the iBuying, if you will, way back when, was a trade-in program because I had builders that couldn't sell product when the market was slow. They had buyers that wanted to buy. And I started thinking, if I can buy real estate wholesale and make that commission and sell the new home and make a commission on that side, I'm making double commissions in every deal, and I'm acquiring a lot of real estate. So that was more of a result of I saw a need and filled the need. I just carried that forward then, and I didn't invent the word iBuyer. When I heard it institutionalized, I thought, golly, that's what I've been doing without realizing that's what I am. Okay? Different than a flipper. Flipper's going to go in at a fairly significant wholesale number, maybe 70%, 60% value. They're going to go in and really dress that property up, and then they're going to try to get full retail value. So then I thought, well, how can I compete with those people? And so a third program that I offer to our sellers are, we can do it like an iBuyer, okay? And you're not getting full value, but it's going to be an instant check and you don't have to do anything in the house. Or two, allow me to get you full maximum value and give me whatever time it's going to take to do that based on comparables. And remember, we do that firstly, not lastly, right? Or third, I think if we spiff this thing up a bit and maybe redo your bathrooms and flooring and kitchen and what have you, I'll finance it for you, and then we can retail it and maybe get you even more money. Now, I'm not giving them free money. That's going to convert into a loan, but what it does is lock into that listing. So what I have tried to do, and what I'm asking you to consider is, how can I ensure that no matter the conversation, these people are going to do business with me, and no matter the business they do with me, they're going to be satisfied with the results. Because what we don't want to be is a one and done. You will burn out in this business if you do that. What we want to be is this relationship, and you're pleased, and you go and tell other people how happy you were with that transaction, and we're going to continue to do more with the family for multi-generations. So it's not about, if you will, this deal. It is about building relationships that will last for however long you want to be in the real estate business. I've always wondered now at 66, what is retirement? And Sabrina and I have decided retirement is doing what you want to do every day when you wake up, and no one else makes that decision for you. And what I've found is I still really enjoy doing what I'm doing because I don't have to do it. And the irony is making more money than ever because I don't have to do it. You don't have the pressure, you don't have the nerves, you're actually out having fun doing cool stuff helping people. So this outline is going to be available to you. SOAR's got it, I think, on their website. If not, I'll be happy to email it to you. Again, you've got my phone number, which is 954-980-2643. You're also welcome to email me at fppminc@gmail. That's fppminc@gmail, and I'll be happy to provide you anything that you need. But if you've got any questions, this is a time to ask them, and don't be embarrassed to do so. I was going to be with you all in person this year, but then COVID hit, so we'll try to do the best we can with Zoom. So Tiffany, I think you're the one that's maybe moderating this. If they have any questions at all, please feel free to ask.
All right, so if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat box. Can you?
It says, what's your email again? It's, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Connie. fppminc@gmail.com. That's my property management company. Thanks, Connie.
All right, so it doesn't look like we have any other questions right now.
Good, we scared them off.
Yeah.
A pleasure being with you. Look forward to being with you guys in person. And I think next year we got some GRIs coming up at your association. Always enjoy being with you and enjoying the west coast of Florida. So thanks for being with me. Tiff and Company, thank you so much for putting together the SOAR conference.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks, David.